Today's webinar is divided into 8 parts. So I'll start with a brief introduction to Klein and Company for the benefit of the people who don't know Klein. After that, I'll give a brief introduction to scope and methodology for the solubility enhancement excipient study, and it will be followed by the key highlights from our study. The key highlights will start with an introduction to the pharmaceuticals industry. This is important to understand as the market demand for solubility enhancement excipients or various solubility enhancement excipients such as lipids, polymers, cyclodextrins, and various others. It depends upon the development and the performance of the pharmaceuticals industry. Once I discuss the pharmaceuticals industry, I'll move on to the solubility enhancement excipients market. So let me start with an introduction to Klein and Company. Klein is a market research and management consulting firm. We have offices in Asia, Europe, and the US. This allows us to conduct research in native languages, and which is very important to research on industries to understand the trends, drivers, challenges, outlook, and the local market scenario. In industries such as solubility enhancement excipients, as the pharmaceutical industry development or even the solubility enhancement excipients industry, its development varies from one country to another. We work on various industries such as agriculture, chemicals, energies, and various other industries that you see mentioned on this slide. So that was about the Klein and Company. Now let me give you a brief introduction to the scope and methodology of our solubility enhancement excipients study. This report was recently published just last month, and this report covers the merchant use of solubility enhancement excipients which are used in the pharmaceutical industry. So we cover both forms, oral solid as well as parenteral dosage forms, where solubility enhancement excipients are used. The report considers the consumption of excipients which are directly used for solubility enhancement, as well as those utilized as process aids in various solubility enhancement techniques. We focus on various technologies, which I will see a slide on various solubility enhancement technologies during the webinar. But just to mention, some of the technologies that we cover in this study are particle size reduction, modification of crystal habit, chemical modification, complexation with cyclodextrins, solid dispersion, lipid solubilization, and various other technologies. In this study, we study the market of various solubility enhancement excipients and provide information such as grades, prices, levels of use, estimated consumption of various excipients, estimated supplier sales for various excipients, as well as the market trends and the 10-year demand outlook. So the base year of the study is 2020, and we provide outlook till 2030. Coming to the methodology of the study. So this is mainly based on interviews with industry experts in pharmaceutical companies, excipient suppliers, and distributors to the pharmaceutical industry. We also interviewed some formulators just to get their point of view as well about the solubility enhancement excipients. We also used various internet sources such as websites of excipient suppliers, distributors, any statistical or trade data which was available with the government websites or industry organizations for the purpose of this study. The volume figures are given in tons, and value or price figures have been given in US dollars. So that was about the scope and methodology of the study. Let us now focus on the key highlights of the study. So let me start with the pharmaceuticals industry. As I mentioned earlier, pharmaceuticals industry, it's important to understand that industry as the solubility enhancement excipients are mainly used in the pharmaceuticals industry. The global pharmaceutical market increased by approximately 1% in 2020 to reach the market value of $1.3 trillion. The key drivers for this growth were improving healthcare standards in many countries, cost control initiatives by various governments, and emphasis on universal health coverage, which became very important given the COVID-19 crisis, which engulfed the world in 2020, and various governments started focusing on providing universal health coverage in 2020. Market also increased, or the demand for pharmaceuticals also increased because of a growth in aging population, especially in the Western countries, growing market for generic drugs, and the growing middle class in the developing countries. In terms of regions, North America and Europe are the two leading regions. However, most growth is seen in Asia for the pharmaceutical industry, and the reason is simple. The economies in Asia are growing faster than the economies in North America and Europe, due to which the income levels of people are rising. That is driving the demand for the medical care or better health care facilities, leading to increase in the pharmaceutical industries. Secondly, many governments in Asia have started universal health coverage programs in the last few years, and that is also driving the usage of or the demand for pharmaceuticals in this region. In terms of dosage type, so oral administration of solid dosage forms is the most preferred and common route of drug dosing. OSDF pharmaceuticals or oral solid pharmaceuticals, they represent approximately 80% of the total market, or account for about 80% of the total pharmaceutical market in 2020. The reason for such dominance of oral solid dose is because it's comparatively less expensive to manufacture it. It's also easier to manufacture it. Oral solid administration offers advantages like better stability, storage, and distribution, easier distribution compared to parenteral drug forms, for example. Further, OSDF pharmaceuticals are also easy to administer, and this increases patient compliance, leading to higher demand for OSDF form of medicines or pharmaceuticals. In terms of therapeutic areas, oncology and immunomodulatory are the leading markets, or are the leading therapeutic areas for the pharmaceutical industries in both developed as well as developing countries. Just to give you an example, spending on oncology drugs is expected to increase by about 100 or more than $100 billion over the next 5 years. And if you look at the current pipeline, even I think probably more than 100 new oncology drugs are estimated to be launched by 2025. And as a result, oncology and immunomodulatory are expected to remain the biggest market for the pharmaceutical industry. In terms of growth outlook, the pharmaceutical industry is expected to reach about $1.6 trillion by 2025, which gives us a CAGR of about 5%. The driving factor for growth are new product launches, increasing demand of generic drugs, especially for the medicines or products that are going off patent, increasing penetration of biologics, in addition to new COVID-19 medicines that will drive the growth of the pharmaceutical industry. The US pharmaceutical industry is expected to grow at around 3% CAGR through 2025, and the drivers for the growth are improving healthcare standards in the US, as well as cost control initiatives launched by the government. In Europe, the market is expected to grow because of growth in generics as well as growth in the demand of biosimilars. In China, China lost some market in 2020 as compared to 2019. However, going forward, China is expected to show growth. And this is mainly because of the government policies to update the national reimbursement drug list. That will increase the share of new branded drugs being reimbursed. Secondly, generic products are also expected to grow in China. That will drive the demand for in the pharmaceutical industry in China. So that was about the pharmaceutical industry. Let us now look at the solubility enhancement excipients market. Now, before looking at market numbers, let us understand the need for solubility enhancement in the pharmaceutical industry and how this need is changing, because that will determine the market growth for solubility enhancement excipients. Okay. So first, let us understand the bioavailability of active ingredients. The biopharmaceutical classification system is a scientific framework for classifying a drug substance based on its aqueous solubility and intestinal permeability. Now, there are 4 classes of drugs under this system. So class 1 has high solubility and high permeability, and therefore it does not require require a lot of solubility enhancement excipients, or maybe no solubility enhancements are required. Class 2 are active ingredients which have low solubility but high permeability, and because of that, the bioavailability of these compounds is limited by their solvation rate. Class 3 is high solubility and low permeability active ingredients, and class 4 which have both low solubility and low permeability. Now, if you within these 4 classes of drugs, the class 2 and class 4 are the most important classes of drugs. In market, if you see all the commercial available drugs, if we see about 40% of the drugs are either class 2 or class 4. And if we look at in terms of the drugs which are in pipeline, I think about 75 to 80% of the drugs which are in pipeline are either class 2 and class 4. So given the importance of class 2 and class 4 drugs, and as they are expected to become even more important in the future, the need for solubility enhancement excipients is expected to grow. We'll see some more information on the next slide. So this slide gives information for reasons for poor bioavailability, and it also gives some information about the class 2 and class 4 drugs. So as you can see, about 40% of the drugs which are being used currently are either class 2 or class 4, and more than 70% of the drugs which are in pipeline belong to class 2 and class 4 drugs. So that is expected to further drive the demand for solubility enhancement excipients in the future. So having looked at the need for solubility enhancement, let us now look at solubility enhancement technologies. This slide gives information on various solubility enhancement technologies and expected growth rates for them. It is important to understand the level of usage as well as growth potential of different solubility enhancement technologies, as it will determine which excipients are used more for solubility enhancement. For example, for micronization, which is a type of particle size reduction, or for modification of crystal habit, excipients are only used as process agents. So we are not using it for enhancing the solubility in these two technologies. But if you look at technologies such as lyophilization, here the excipients are used for several functions such as bulking agents and lipoprotectants, buffering agents, tonicity modifiers, and also as collapse temperature modifiers. So if particle size reduction or modification of crystal habit, if these technologies, as we expect, are either expected to grow slowly or maybe at a moderate rate, they may not have a huge impact on or as they do not use solubility enhancement excipients, so they may not have a huge impact on the growth of the solubility enhancement excipients in the future, because the growth rate is slow. Already particle size reduction is used is probably the most used technology for solubility enhancement, and given that factor, whatever impact this technology can have on the demand of on the excipient, solubility enhancement excipients, is already in place. So it's probably not going to impact this demand going forward. But something like lyophilization, which is its usage is also small and its growth rate is also moderate. Given this factor, again, the demand for solubility enhancement excipients may not grow very fast because of this technology. But if you look at other technologies like lipid solubilization, which are usage is also quite significant and the growth rate is also quite fast. Therefore, the demand for solubility enhancement excipients which are used in these technologies will grow fast. And as the name suggests, it's lipid solubilization, so it mainly uses lipids. So that can give you an idea that the lipids are probably going to grow faster than various other solubility enhancement excipients. And therefore, it is important to understand which technologies are using how much of these excipients and what is so that's one. And secondly, what is the usage of these technologies for solubility enhancement and what is their growth outlook, to develop a picture about which excipients are expected to grow in the future. So that was about the technologies. Then let us now look at the market for solubility enhancement excipients. So the market for solubility enhancement excipients is around 6,000 to 7,000 tons, with a market value of about 400 to 500 million. These excipients are used in both oral solids as well as parenteral injectables dosage forms. In terms of value, parenteral injectables account for around 60% of the total market by value, while with oral solids accounting for the remaining 40%. But if you look at in terms of volume, you will see that oral solids dominate in terms of volume, while not so parenteral injectables not so much in terms of volume. The reason is the excipients which are used in parenteral injectables are expensive or are of better quality, due to which their prices are high, and that's why we get very high value for them. But the volume is probably not that high. In terms of excipients categories, lipids and polymers, they account for more than 90% of the demand by volume and more than 80% in terms of value. The lipid-based excipients market is the largest because of its high level of use in drug formulations and its applicability in solubility enhancement of lipophilic drugs. Its demand for oral solids is mainly driven by the demand in soft gel capsules. So I'm talking about lipids demand in oral solids, which is mainly driven by the demand in soft gel capsules. Polymer excipients, they are the second biggest category for solubility enhancement excipient, and their demand has mainly increased because of the growing number of poorly soluble drugs which are being introduced in the market. Some examples are Caletra and Norvir. where polymer solubility enhancement excipients are used. Cyclodextrins are the third biggest category of solubility enhancement excipients, and its demand in parenteral injectables has been on the rise because of its usage in vaccines for porcine circovirus, influenza vaccine, dengue virus, hepatitis C, and HIV. In 2020, the demand of cyclodextrins was quite high, and this was mainly because of the significant demand for remdesivir, which was used for, or which is used for COVID-19 treatment. So now let us look at the industry structure and competitive landscape. This slide shows the industry structure of the solubility enhancement excipients industry. The structure is very simple, with either suppliers or distributors supplying to customers, supplying excipients to customers. There are mainly two types of customers, either contract formulation and manufacturing companies, so CMOs or CDMOs, and the pharmaceutical companies like Novartis, Pfizer, or GSK. In terms of suppliers, the market or the supplier landscape for solubility enhancement excipients is quite concentrated. I think there are probably around 25-30 suppliers in total for this industry. Further, if you look at top five suppliers, they control more than 2/3 of the market for solubility enhancement excipients. So even from that point of view, the industry is quite concentrated for solubility enhancement excipients. The supplier scenario of these excipients consists of different companies present through potentially several ways in this market. Some companies offer excipients for use in different technologies, so someone like BASF for solubility enhancement, while there are companies which offer excipients for only one technology. So that was about the competitive landscape. Let us now look at the outlook for solubility enhancement excipients market. This slide gives information on drivers and restraints for the solubility enhancement excipients demand. So we see about some 5-6 key drivers for this industry. First is the growing number of poorly soluble drug compounds. So if you remember, I mentioned earlier that about 70 to 90% of the drugs which are in pipeline, they belong to BCS class 2 or class 4 of drugs which are poorly soluble. So as the share of those or as the number of poorly soluble drugs or BCS class 2 and class 4 drugs increase, the demand for solubility enhancement excipients could also grow. Second key factor we see is the pharmaceutical companies who are focusing on extending the patent life of their drug compound. That is also driving the demand for solubility enhancement excipients. Third factor is the research and development. So focusing on developing new technologies, new excipient products for solubility enhancement is also acting as a market driver. Demand for parenteral injectable dosage forms, new products or new routes of administration as they are developed is also driving demand for solubility enhancement excipients. And lastly, COVID-19 vaccine, as vaccinations are underway in many parts of the world, and there is a talk of booster shot, maybe third booster shot, fourth booster shot, and so on. That is also going to drive the demand for solubility enhancement excipients. But there are some restraints as well. First, regulatory compliance or regulations is a major issue for developing the market of solubility enhancement excipients. One regulatory hurdle is if you use a different excipient, you need to get an approval from the regulatory authority. You need to prove that that excipient has no adverse effects on on humans, and therefore it's a long and tedious process that restrain the growth of this industry. Secondly, high cost of development or high cost of operations limit the growth in this industry. Secondly, supplier, there are very limited number of suppliers present in this industry, as I was mentioning before. That also acts as a restraint. And the drug development itself takes a lot of time. So from research to phase 3 clinical trials, and then finally commercially launching a drug itself is a process which take more than 10 years in many cases. So that definitely is a restraint for development of pharmaceutical industry and the solubility enhancement excipients industry as well. In terms of outlook, so we expect the demand for solubility enhancement excipients to grow at a CAGR of more than 12% during 2020 to 2030. Fastest growing category is expected to be polymers because of their rapidly increasing consumption in solid dispersion techniques. Lipids are expected to be the second fastest growing category for solubility enhancement excipients, and this is mainly because of their increasing use in self-emulsifying drug delivery systems, or also known as SEDS, and self-micro-emulsifying drug delivery systems, which is also known as MEDS. In 2020, as we all know, COVID-19 struck the world, and that led to changes in all the industries, and pharmaceutical industry was also not untouched from COVID-19, from the impact of COVID-19. So in 2020, we saw a huge demand for cyclodextrin for parenteral injectable dosage form, mainly because of its use in remdesivir, as I was mentioning earlier. But going forward, cyclodextrin market may grow at a slower rate because its usage in oral solids, or its consumption in oral solids, is actually quite mature, and we don't see any major research and development being carried out on the being carried for the usage of cyclodextrins, and that is going to be a restraint on the growth of cyclodextrin going forward. Surfactants are expected to grow probably at similar rate as cyclodextrin, much lower than lipids and polymers, because their independent consumption for enhancing solubility or for solubility enhancement is low. Surfactants are generally used in combination with other solubility enhancement technologies, such as solid dispersions and lipid solubilization. So their independent usage is probably not there, or if it is there, that's at a very low level, and that is a restraint on its growth. COVID-19 is also expected to have an impact on the outlook for solubility enhancement excipients, and we expect two excipients. One is cyclodextrins and the other one is phospholipids. Cyclodextrins, as I told you, it's used in remdesivir, and it saw a very huge demand growth in 2020, and its growth is probably going to slow down as we go forward. But cyclodextrins and phospholipids both are also used in COVID-19 vaccines. Now, the key demand for these vaccines is expected to be between 2020 and 2022. So by the end of 2022, we expect that most of the people in the world will probably be vaccinated against COVID-19. So after 2022, whatever demand for COVID-19 vaccine that would come, it would mainly come from the requirement of booster shots. Now, there are booster shots already being administered in some countries. We've already seen that. But there are also questions being raised about the need for the booster shots. So in some countries, it's being said, like in the US, for example, that probably not everyone is needed to get a booster shot, and only a select population is what we need, or probably only the people above a certain age need to have a booster shot. So if those restrictions on booster shots are there, then obviously the demand for COVID-19 vaccine after 2022 will decline, and that will lead to a decline in the growth rate of cyclodextrins and phospholipids as well. After 2025, once everyone would probably have had booster shots as well, and we don't know if after 2025 there will be any need of COVID-19 vaccine, whether or probably only for newborns, but not for others. So very low demand may be there for COVID-19 vaccine after 2025. So the demand for cyclodextrins and phospholipids will mainly be driven by other vaccines like influenza, dengue virus, hepatitis C, and others. And thus, their growth rate will decline even further for the period of 2025 and 2030. So that was about the market for solubility enhancement excipients. We are open for any questions if there are any questions. This slide gives the contact details of people who you can contact regarding the solubility enhancement excipient study, or any question regarding this webinar.
And thank you, Kunal. This was great overview of the market. We have a lot more depth in the actual study. Of course, you can, again, contact anybody on this list, or as I've said earlier, before the webinar, you will receive a follow-up email from webinars@clientgroup.com. Feel free to respond to that email, and I will personally forward any of the inquiries to our team. We are happy that you've joined us today, and we look forward to seeing you again in our next presentations. Have a wonderful day. I'll leave this slide for a few more moments in front of you, just in case you want to take a note of any contact information, and then I'll stop the presentation in a minute.